evaluated the expression. Okay, so if I'm given a value for x, y, z, whatever, I can put it in and evaluate. Now we're gonna do some solving equations. Okay, remember equations is when I have already an equal sign. Okay, I have two sides, I have the left and the right, and I can move things between the two sides. Okay, so when I'm solving for the unknown variable, isolating for that variable, right? So in order for me to isolate, what process do I have to follow? So if I want to isolate for A, don't tell me the steps. Don't tell me what I need to do. What's the process? What do we call the process? Isolate, like what process do I do to isolate the variable?
Reverse.
Yeah, reverse. So we do opposite operation following reverse BADMAS. Okay? So opposite operation, that means because I'm moving something from one side of the equality to the other side of the equality, I have to change my operation. Okay? So if you have plus on one side, you move it to the other side, it becomes a subtraction, right? If you have a multiplication, you bring it to the other side, it becomes a division, right? So you're performing opposite operation. Okay? If you have a square root, right? So this is called the opposite operation. But then also when you're isolating, there is a process for it. It's like when you're adding things together, there is a process called BADMAS, right? When you're isolating, we follow the reverse BADMAS. Okay, so first thing you get rid of, where is that? Sorry guys, 1 second. I'm just gonna change the color because the blue on the blue. So you know how when you're adding, you follow BADMAS, right? When you're moving things around, you're gonna have to remove it in the other way, okay? So first thing you're gonna get rid of is your addition and subtraction. Then you get rid of your division multiplication, okay? So it's the reverse BADMAS. Okay, so what's the first thing you want to get rid of when you're isolating for A in the first equation? The 3. And when I move it over, it's going to become negative subtraction. Yeah. I'm just, negative is not wrong, I'm just saying the correct vocabulary, okay? So now it's going to become 9 take away 3. Right? So I have 2a equals 6 divided by 2. Right? Because I have a multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So when I bring the division over, the 2 over, it's going to become a division. And I have a equals 3. Okay? You guys know that you can check your work. Right? So I can check my work and make sure that my answer is correct by plugging in 3 into my original equation. Right? Now, in this case, it's not asking you to, but if you want to make sure, if I plug in 3 here, I'm going to get 2 times 3 plus 3, and let's see if the left side is equal to the right side. So this is not part of your solution. This is just checking your work. Okay? 2 times 3 is 6 plus 3, and 9 is equal to 9. That means my left side is equal to my right side. I'm good. Okay? So this is just an extra step for you to make sure that your answer is correct. All right, look at B. What's the first thing you want to get rid of? You want to get rid of the denominator, right? Why is that? Okay, my question to you is, if I give you a value for B, if I tell you B is 7, right? How would you go with the evaluation? What do you do? Forget about this part, okay? If I tell you that 7 minus 4 divided by 3, what do you do first?
The brackets.
What do you do first?
No, the denominator.
What do you evaluate first? You subtract the top first, right? So first you're going to subtract the top, then you're going to divide by 3, right? So your second step is you divide by 3, right? When you're isolating, you're going to actually do the opposite, okay? So the first thing you're going to get rid of is the division by 3. And the second thing you're going to get rid of is whatever is happening up here, okay? So because we're doing reverse BADMAS here, okay? part of it is isolating. And then bringing the negative 4 over, so that's going to become negative 15 plus 4, which is negative. Okay? So, check your answer. See if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How about in C? What would you like me to do first? Move the 3 over. Do you guys agree with that? Now, why in this case I'm moving the 3 before the division?
Because it's the variable you're looking for.
It's not only because it's the variable you're looking for, it's because it's not, the C is not over the whole thing, right? If you had this, right, the first thing you're gonna move is C, right? Because your whole fraction, that's your whole fraction, okay? So, the first thing in this case you're gonna move is 9, and it's gonna be, 3, and it's gonna become 9 plus 3. So 4 over C equals to 12. Then what? Multiply by C, right? Always, always, you're going to have to move your denominator. You can't move your numerator, okay? So you're going to have to bring over your denominator here, right? Because it's a division, it's going to become a multiplication. So I have 4 equals to 12C, and then divide by 12, okay? Now, my C is over here. I want to isolate for it. I have to bring the 12 over, and it's going to become 4 divided by 12 equals C, which is 1/3. Okay? I can't, when I have when my variable is in the denominator, I cannot move my numerator. Okay? Yeah.
How we multiply 12 and C?
So, you know how you have 4 over C equals 12, right?
This is multiplication, yeah, so we have to.
So this is a division here, right? This is a division. So when you bring it over, it becomes a multiplication. Now, I want C by itself. I can't have 12C. I want just C, right? So now it's time for me to move the 12 over. Right? Because it's a multiplication right now, 12 times C. I have to move the 12 over and it becomes division.
Yes, we have to both sides we divide it by, like we have 4 we have to divide it by 12, C also divided by 12.
Yes, so you can do that if you want,
Yeah.
right? And that's gonna
Let's cancel.
cancel and then that's gonna become 1 over.
Okay.
Okay? I just don't write that middle step, if that's okay with you guys. All right? Are we good with that?
I have a question. This operation is called, you said reverse Bedmas, right?
Yep.
And opposite operation is the.
So we're doing an opposite operation following reverse BEDMAS. There is a mistake here, so let's call this D here.
That's
You
right.
can't have 2 variables. That makes sense.
Yeah.
2 variables,
Instead of
1
that thing
equation.
for half an hour last night.
Guys-
Just staring at it, wondering what the hell to do. Oh,
Now you know.
what is it? It's 6? What is that? What is D again?
Then you have D on both sides of the here. Yeah. You can't have 2 variables and 1 equation to solve. For each variable, you need an equation. So if you have 3 variables, you need 3 equations to be able to solve, which we don't do this here. Okay? But for each variable, you need an equation, by the way. Okay? All right, so that's supposed to be a D, yeah. They're supposed to be the same variable. Okay, D minus 8 over 3 equals to D plus 4 over 2. How do you want to solve? Cross multiply? You can also do common denominator, yeah,
Let's see.
okay?
I
Well,
did the both side multiplied by common denominator.
both sides multiplied by
Common denominator.
common denominator. You can do that, it's the same thing. Okay? So you either do a common denominator for both sides, okay? And that would get rid of your denominator. Or in this case, you can cross multiply. Okay? I just like to teach you the way of doing common denominator because that's the safest way. Okay? Because, don't write this down. But let's say if I have d over 3 minus 8 equal to d plus 4 over 2. Let's say I have this where minus 8 is not divided by 3. Then in this case, I must do a common denominator for both sides in order for me to be able to simplify. Okay? And in this case, you can't just simply cross multiply. Okay? Now, that's why I don't like usually to teach the process of cross multiplying, right? Because if you get something like this and you cross multiply, it's going to give you the wrong answer. So it's better to do common denominator and get rid of your denominators. Okay? That's a better way to do it because it's the safest way to do it. Okay, so what's my common denominator? 6. And then to make this 6, what do I have to multiply it by? 2. Anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Remember that in this case, I have 2 terms, so I have to put my brackets. Okay? Anything I do to the, I have to multiply by 3. So that's going to give me 2d minus 8, and then 3 times d plus 4. Now, because I have a common denominator on both sides of the equality, then I can get rid of that. Okay? Then I can just simply cross the division by 6. Okay? The only time you can do that if you have the same denominator on both sides. So, I have 2 multiplied by d minus 8 equal to 3 multiplied by d plus 4. What do I do now?
Get rid of the brackets. I'll
Get rid of the
multiply
bracket by
by multiplying.
expanding, yeah? So it's 2d minus 16 equal to 3d plus 12. What do you want to do now?
Isolate the variable.
I'll isolate the variable by bringing,
16.
you can bring the 16 over to the right side and then bring the 3d over to the left side. Okay? So you want the like terms to be on the same side. Like terms to be on the same side. It doesn't matter. Actually, I'm gonna bring the 2d over just because then it will be my last step. And then bring the 12. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. You should be getting the same answer. And that's going to be negative 28 equals to d. Okay? If you brought the 3d over, you're going to end up with this.
Yeah, negative.
You're going to end up with negative d equals to 28. You just have to do an extra step by dividing by 1 or multiplying by 1. Okay? So that's why I brought it over this way instead of the other way. Oops. Are we okay with this? All right, so you have a whole worksheet on simplifying and, not simplifying, solving equations. Okay, get working on that. And then if we have, maybe at 10 o'clock, I'll just do the stats part. Okay, I'll give you about half an hour to work on that sheet, and then around 10 o'clock.